Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Porter Gore, and I am the Public Relations Manager in the Office of Public Affairs with the DC Housing Authority. Thanks a lot for coming out. We're going to get started. And it's a great day. It's warm out. I think the color is tan today, so glad everyone could come. We're obviously dedicating a great facility. We're very glad to be able to open this up to the community. So we're going to get started, and you see our program is going to start today with Mr. Pedro Alfonso, who is the chairman of DCHA's Board of Commissioners.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Great seeing everyone here this morning on a nice, hot, dry day. But the District of Columbia Housing Authority, as most of you know, focuses in on three areas, and that's affordable housing for low and moderate income households, providing a sustainable and fostering sustainable communities, and it cultivates opportunities for residents to improve their lives, which is a lot of why we're here today. So this particular facility was created actually as an affordable living facility here in the District of Columbia because there is a need. As our population ages and as for needs for those with physically disability grow, we can continue to see an increased need for these types of services. You know, it was once said actually by Pope John Paul II, and I kind of paraphrase, a society will be judged on the basis of how it treats its weakest members, and among the most vulnerable are surely the young, the disabled, and the elderly. So it's just DCHA is providing our community this particular service of affordable housing needs in this particular facility. So as chairman of the DCHA, I can tell you, along with our director, Adrianne Todman, and the staff, they have continually explored ways to and means of serving families here in the District of Columbia. From Ward 8 at Sheridan Station, Ward 6 at the Lofts at Capitol Quarter, and now here in Ward 1, Councilman Jim Graham's ward, DCHA is committed to serving communities throughout the city. So this morning, I would like to thank those that keep our elderly and affordable housing on the top of their list. We want to thank Mayor Gray, Councilmember, and applause for Mayor. Councilmember Bowser, who chairs the Economic Development Committee, and Councilman Graham, who has served this ward for so many years. Your continued support for this mission and our mission here at DCHA is greatly appreciated. We want to thank fellow commissioners that are here. I see Mr. Mobley, Commissioner Mobley is here. Any other commissioners? Yeah, and we will recognize you in terms of the ward, the ANC commissioner. And thank you for the DCHA team for your hard work. And really want to appreciate it. Seeing this particular facility, I know that as I get older, and I'm beginning to have these birthdays come along, there is a place for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We really appreciate those kind words. And now, of course, I'm going to have our DCHA Executive Director, Adrianne Todman, come up and introduce the mayor.
Good morning, everyone. And what a beautiful morning it is here in the District of Columbia. You know, just yesterday, and I was very pleased that Councilmember Bowser was able to join us. Just yesterday, we were celebrating our youth. many of our youth, over 150 of our youth, who are in our rental assistance program, were able to play basketball and have life skills. And I think there's a story in a local newspaper today on it. And so it warms my heart. It really warms my heart to be on the other end of the aging process, so to speak, in terms of being able to provide integrity for folks who need it in their living environment. While this facility, our first assisted living facility, and the mayor was right to whisper in my ears that I hate to call someone's home a facility. And so we will look to change that. In this home, that is for those of us that are vulnerable and need help, has been a long journey for the Housing Authority. It was back in 2009, 2010, when a decision was made to take this, which was formerly a public housing site, and then a building where we had some service providers housed. And then some of you, Mr. Graham, I remember there was a fire here some years ago, and the decision was made, well, let's repurpose this site and put it to the highest and best use. And what better use than where we are right now? I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Kelly, who certainly played a strong role in making sure that the initial vision for this was done. And even more importantly, thank you for the $1 million from DHCD to make sure it came to light. This is a $5 million facility that's been funded by our partners at HUD in stimulus funds from the Housing Authority, and funds from the Housing Production Trust Fund. So thank you so much for all our partners. My heart is filled because it's taken us so long to get here. We haven't worked this hard on 14 units in a long time, but despite the fact it was a long road, we did it. We learned from it, and we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. Because just like we recognize the important role we play in with our youth, we recognize the role we play for all of the people we serve here in D.C. And for those of you who are family members, I can only imagine the peace of mind this will bring to so many of you. For those of us who have parents and loved ones who are aging, we know what it means to have some place where your loved ones can call home and be safe and have 24-hour care. So this is for you as well. But I'd like to thank the best government staff in the District of Columbia, and that's the DCHA team. If you're a DCHA team member, put your hands up. For the folks who really played a strong role on this, Steve Green, I see you there, Shirley Babel, Lori Putcher, David Cotiella, they are all going to take the rest of the week off. No, I'm just kidding. But I am so happy that you got us to this point. I'm very proud of this facility. I'm very proud of all of us who are here. I'm proud of our partners, and I can't wait till we actually cut that ribbon and get started. Thank you all so much.
And of course, now we have a man who doesn't really need an introduction, but so I'm just going to say his name, the Honorable Mayor Vincent C. Gray.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And it is still morning. I think we have another minute to go. Let me say good morning to Pedro Alfonso. I want to thank him for his distinguished service in chairing our Board of Commissioners at the Housing Authority. Thank you, Pedro. To the council members who joined us today, to Councilmember Graham, who of course has represented this ward with distinction for so many years, to Councilmember Bowser, who represents the adjacent ward, and that of course is Ward 4, to our Housing Authority Director, Adrianne Todman, who you just heard from. I want to thank her for her service also to the people of the District of Columbia. And I also have to recognize Michael Kelly, who at one time was the executive director of the Housing Authority, made the mistake of going off to New York and Philadelphia, and we were able to get him back here. And we're delighted that he's back here now heading our Department of Housing and Community Development. Michael, thank you very much for the work that you do, and also helping to embrace the vision that we have for an inclusive and accessible city. here in the District of Columbia. You know, this continues our efforts to invest in keeping people in the community, and to me that is one of the most important things that we can do. We have this year are investing $187 million through the Housing Production Trust Fund and other sources in affordable housing, and in the fiscal year 15 budget we have $100 million additional. That would bring us to almost $300 million invested in affordable housing, which I think, I don't know about other cities, and unless anybody else knows differently, then we'll just claim it. It's the most investment that you can find anywhere in America at this stage in affordable housing. What this home does, and I'm using the term advisedly too, Adrian, it's not a facility. None of us live in a facility. We live in a home, don't we? And this is creating a home for a number of people who otherwise might be somewhere else. One of the things that we've done, and we've increased the relationship, extended the relationship, strengthened the bonds between the Housing Authority, Housing and Community Development, and HUD, thank you Marvin for being here today, and our DC Office on Aging, recognizing that it creates funding and other programmatic opportunities to keep people where they want to be, and that is in their own neighborhood and in their own home. You know, we increased the DC Office of Aging budget by 50%. It's a whole host of agencies, some 20 agencies, 37 programs, all of which are undergirded by the principle that people ought to be able to stay where they are. We now have a full staff of people, 10 or 11 people who work in the DC Office on Aging, whose only job is to go through nursing homes and try to identify people who don't need to be in a nursing home. A nursing home, by the way, you should not be relegated to a nursing home simply because you've reached an age. A nursing home really is more for people who have a level of disability or a level of physical or emotional or intellectual need that would call for that kind of supervision. So those who assume that a nursing home is based on what age you are, disabuse yourself of that, because that's just simply not the case. And we've already moved out 50 or 60 people from nursing homes, and this kind of assisted facility will be a place where we can continue to do that. We've increased the transportation budget, we've increased the meals budget, we've got the age-friendly initiative that is underway. The strategic plan will be completed for that later this year, all towards a fundamental principle, and that is if people can and want to remain in the community, they ought to have the opportunity to do that. Nobody should be put into an institutional setting simply because they have reached a certain age. I see Dr. Thompson, who has joined us also, who is our director of the Office on Aging. I was just talking about the work that we're doing in nursing homes, Dr. Thompson, and moving people out and into settings that they can call a home. One of the really interesting features about this is that, and I congratulate the work of Adrian and the staff at DCHA and working with other people across the government, and that is bringing Medicaid dollars to this program. It was a time when we only were able to do that with people with developmental disabilities, and there were so many rigorous restrictions that were placed on those programs, and nobody wanted to do it in the first place. It was simply a funding source for which people felt they were paying a price. This, frankly, demonstrates the flexibility that can be achieved when you get multiple funding sources working together. Medicaid is an excellent funding source, and it is tied to people's income in the first place. It is not an age factor, it's tied to their income. And frankly, for us to be able to create opportunities for us to be here and access federal dollars that otherwise couldn't be accessed is the difference between some people being able to live here and not be able to live here. The Medicaid program is supported by 70% of it in the District of Columbia is supported by federal dollars. And that is going to make a huge difference in people being able to be here and not being here. So Adrian, when you talk about this being a model, I agree with you. It is a model not only of how people can live in an assisted way in the District of Columbia, it's also a model of how to create more flexibility in funding sources that otherwise would find reasons why you can't do it rather than reasons you can. So we need to replicate this all across the city. as we work to achieve that principle, and that is the principle of people ought to be able to live where they want to live, no matter what the restrictions are. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mayor Gray. We really appreciate those remarks, and we're going to, of course, move on to bring up Ms. Muriel Bowser, council member from Ward 4.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, and good day to everyone who is assembled here. Let me join in acknowledging the wonderful staff and leadership at the DC Housing Authority. Give them another big round of applause. I've had the opportunity to chair the Oversight Committee for the Housing Authority for about the last year and a half, and it has been a pleasure, Ms. Todman, to work with you and your staff on a whole host of issues that affect the residents of the District of Columbia. I'm always happy to share the dais with my good friend, Councilmember Jim Graham. Let's hear it for Jim Graham. So in Jim Graham's years on the council, I think you can tie very closely about $1 billion of investment in Ward 1 to Jim's vision, his he's dynamic. Dynamism, aggression, and really his ability to get things done. I asked a friend when I came down to the council 7 years ago, get my office organized. Who do you recommend I talk to right away? And he said, Councilmember Jim Graham. And we have shared a wonderful relationship for these last 7 years, because Ward 1 and Ward 4, well, we're cousins. And so we share a lot of issues and opportunities, and it's been my pleasure to get to know Jim Graham. I'm also delighted that the mayor is here to help us celebrate what is so important. And I want to thank you, Mayor Gray, for your focus on affordable housing in the District of Columbia. See, the thing I know is that as a person like Mayor Gray, whose family has been here for generations, that we all celebrate the progress that we're making in the District of Columbia, don't we? But we also recognize that across all 8 wards in the District of Columbia, people want to make sure that they have a place and they have a seat at the table. And the work that the Housing Authority does, Pedro, is so key in making sure not only that we grow, but that we grow together and that we have a place for people who need safe housing, for people who have worked hard in the District of Columbia, and that this will be a city not just for the rich, but for everybody who is willing to work hard and play fair. And that is why I fight hard every day down at the city council, and will continue to fight for people who need a place in our city. This is what we know about senior citizens. I tell everybody, I don't want to be a leader in the District of Columbia if grandmas and grandpas can't afford to live here. And so we have to stay focused every day on how the policies of our government allow people to age in place. Here are a couple of numbers. By 2015, 1 out of every 5 DC residents will be over the age of 60 years old. Studies show that 20% of senior citizens in the District of Columbia live below the poverty level. And what I know from going to talking to seniors every day, that there are a whole host of issues, some housing, some nutrition, some transportation, and some isolation. And so as a city, we have to, a prosperous city like ours, recommit ourselves every day to making sure not only can our seniors live well in the District of Columbia, but live healthy, fulfilled lives here. And housing, this is what we know about housing. When you can put a roof over somebody's head and they know they can count on it from day to day, so many other issues, health issues, for example, are so much better when people have a reliable, safe promise of great housing. So I'm here to celebrate with you. 14 units, okay? So we know what that means, Michael, right? We need more money for the Housing Authority, right, Marvin, so that we can build more units. And this is what I'll say in closing. because the mayor's focus on affordable housing has been remarkable. And I always remind people the commitment of building 10,000 units is a great one, but when we think about the need, we know it's a drop in the bucket. We also know that preservation is key. We have a lot of great affordable housing units in the District of Columbia, and they all need investment, so we have to work on preserving those units. And finally, our public housing is a key component of public housing in the District of Columbia that doesn't get as much attention. But we have 8,000 units, and now growing today. We have to make sure we preserve those units, continue to work with our federal government, continue to look at our own local sources to keep building and preserving units for Washingtonians for all the years to come. God bless you and congratulations.
Thank you, Councilmember Bowser. And now we're going to have Councilmember Jim Graham from, of course, Ward 1, right here. And he also chairs the Human Services Committee. Thank you.
First, let me thank God for every hand that has touched this project and made it possible for us to come here today to celebrate the opening of this inspired vision for seniors and others in need of help in the District of Columbia. There is no better time in my day than the time I spend with the angels, the people who are working hard to help others, selflessly dedicated, addressing their talents, applying their talents to those in greatest need. And there are lots of angels here today. I would dare say that there are some archangels, but I think it's enough just to be an angel, isn't it? And behind me are some of the chief angels, there's no question about it, starting with Pedro Alfonso, Adrianne Todman, our great mayor in the District of Columbia, our soon-to-be great mayor in the District of Columbia. I have no restraint. And all of our friends from the federal establishment, thank you very much. This is a project that I really love seeing. I mean, and ANC Commissioner Dottie Love Wade, this is right in your single-member district. Let's hear it for Dottie Love Wade, who has served with distinction on the school board in the District of Columbia, and her ever-faithful husband, they're inseparable. They're inseparable. Maybe that's why you both look so young. Keith Wade, Keith, raise your hand so we can acknowledge you, please. But both Keith and Dottie live a stone's throw from here. And they remember well, as do I, what this corner looked like some years ago. Across the way, you had what was called the Wilson Building, not the Wilson Building downtown, but the Wilson Building out here, which was originally the segregated school for white teachers in the District of Columbia. You remember? Minor was for those who were African American, but this was the Wilson Building for the white students. And of course it was grandly established and wonderfully built. But just a few years ago, 15, 16 years ago, I thought it was going to be burned to the ground because it had been abandoned by the city. For all practical purposes, there were people who were in the building who were setting fires to stay warm. And here, this great building, which had contributed so much to UDC and the Federal City College after its rather undistinguished history in the other role. And then it became the Carlos Rosario Adult International Charter School, which it is today, and it's a fabulous space. Fabulous space for people who have come to the United States to contribute to this city and this nation and need a hand in terms of English language and various skills to get jobs and go on in life. And then here on this corner, this building was about ready to, whoops, there, let me go the other one. This building was about ready to fall into Harvard. And I don't mean the university, I mean right down. This wall looked so precarious, I guess it would be the southern wall. It was so precarious, and there had been a fire which didn't help matters. But it was just really a ramshackle, that's what it was. And in comes the Housing Authority, which had owned the building, with a vision to take a building which was really very, very nearly finished, such as the building across the street, and turn it into a very special place for very special people. And fortunately, we were able to keep half of the old building, but this part of the building could not be saved because it was really was going to collapse, wasn't it, Michael? So anyway, so this is, to see this type of change and to know that this is a completion, and I know it's not an easy decision to come into a facility like this. I mean, we've all had people in our lives, some of our own lives have been touched by these types of challenges. But when you have something that's inviting and warm and says, welcome, it says, come here, we're going to do everything we can to help you. We're going to do everything we can to maintain and enhance your quality of life. That's the best that we can do. And I think in this case, we've done the best. And I congratulate everybody who's had a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we are going to have Marvin Turner, who is the director of the Washington Field Office for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. At the last DCHA event, we had Marvin sat on my coat. So I made sure I avoided that problem this time, and I'm going to get out of his way as he comes to the podium. So.
I'm beginning to feel like Rodney Dangerfield here, right? So listen. First of all, on behalf of Secretary Sean Donovan and the rest of the 8,000 or so people at HUD, I want to thank you for inviting me for this occasion. I also want to thank the mayor, the council members, Pedro Alfonso, and of course Adrianne for her vision in creating this. When I look at this sign, the one thing that I really want to point out about this sign is it says it's the first one. And that shows that they recognize the vision and the need for not only affordable housing, but affordable housing and assisted housing. Now, I was proud to be a contributor for this. This was part of a $2.2 million, I believe, in stimulus funds for this deal, but also part of a package of nearly $60 million competitive and non-competitive stimulus funds that the district housing authority received to do projects such as these, and they've done a great job. I really I can't speak on what happened around the country, but I know in this country, people did it right. In this city, folks did it right, and so I'm happy to be a part of that, and I think they'll be applauded for that. You know, in coming decades, increasing life expectancy, declining birth rate, and the aging of the baby boom population will dramatically increase the number and proportion of population over the age of 62. Folks like myself who are getting up there. Aging of the population presents challenges and opportunities and questions, including not just affordable housing, but just where people will live and how they will obtain the support and care that they will require as they grow older. Surveys have shown that 89% of adults 50 plus years hope to remain in their homes as they age, and this is one of those solutions. So I too will not call it a facility. I too will declare that this is exactly what it is. It's a home, and home is where the heart is, and our hearts are here. So recent research on HUD have found that folks who are older and less affluent were given the opportunity to live in safer surroundings, had lower rates of obesity, diabetes, psychological distress, and major depression. So what you're hearing is that there's definitely a track where health, and housing meet. And this is a solution on that as well. So as we look at the roles of housing and health, new collaborations across sectors will continue to recognize that providing healthier and more affordable housing can lead to significant health outcomes. So in conclusion, I want to thank you again for inviting me, and may God bless you all, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Turner. We're going to have Jean Blue come. She is the administrator for the home here. We're talking about someone who actually works on the road. She's where the rubber meets the road of where healthcare and housing come together. Thank you, Jean.
First of all, I want to thank Mr. Mayor and our distinguished speakers for being here and for the level of attention and the level of celebration for what we are doing here. It truly is something that we are all tremendously excited about. I am filling in for Conchi Bretos, who is the CEO and founder of MIA Senior Living. They're a company who does assisted living exclusively for folks of low and moderate income. So we are out there trying to provide that home for folks who otherwise would have fewer options. And I'm sure that Conchi, whose schedule didn't permit her to be here, would echo what we have heard from several folks already and give a huge shout out and thank you to the DC Housing Authority. It truly has been a tremendous amount of work on everyone's part, and we are so happy to have gotten to this point. Now we are going forward, and our goal is to provide a level of care and service to our residents that will equal the beauty of this building that they have provided for us. We do have two of our first two residents are here, as well as our next resident to come. If Mr. Daniels would like to say, wave, there you go, Mr. Shingler, Ms. Jennings. And for them, we are having a ribbon cutting and a celebration and some speeches, but we're also in their dining room. This is where the magic will happen, and we'll be getting to know them real well, and they'll be getting to know us real well. There's another group of people who have come today. There are several representatives from the Department of Healthcare Finance, and they're the folks who are going to make it actually happen, to have folks here and able to get this service as opposed to having perhaps only a nursing home as an option. So I want to thank them all for coming. I will be relying on them for their assistance. And finally, I do want to introduce, if I see them, and thanks, several of my staff members are here. Adrienne Lynch is our receptionist. George Whitson's our cook in the back. Stacy Sneed, Ephraim Nuyet, George Melitol, raise your hands. Truly, for us, it's a beautiful building, and we want to live up to the level of care and work you have all put into this building and reflect it by giving great service to our residents. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you very much. That ends our speaking program because we're a little over time, but I definitely did also want to acknowledge Ms. Love Wade for her presence here, and we just really appreciate everything she does in ANC. And so here's what we're going to do next, the actual ribbon cutting.
Are we ready? Yeah!